You're on the clock, or you will be soon, and you got decisions to make. There's so much information to process so quickly after the draft, and it can be overwhelming. Don't worry, take a deep breath. I got you covered. Let's talk about the 10 biggest post-draft risers. Rashee Rice is going to have an ADP spike in the community due to his second-round draft capital and his Kansas City landing spot. But it's important to remember not to overreact and throw out everything you know about a prospect. Rice has some good physical tools and very flashy plays. I was pretty high on him early in the process, but after diving a little deeper on his tape, I knocked him down to my wide receiver 15 due to his lack of separation and route running. He still needs a lot of development, and I doubt he sees the field much as a rookie. There's some upside here long term, but the KC hype might get him taken too high for me to have any shares. On the flip side, it's just as important not to underreact. I was lower on Mingo than most coming into the draft. He was my wide receiver 14, but my hometown Carolina Panthers took him as the 5th wide receiver off the board. I wouldn't have taken him that high, but I'd love if he's a stud. I'd happily take an L on this one. Early second round draft capital is excellent, and he has a clear path to starting day one. I see a lot of development that's needed, but he'll definitely come up from 14 to probably around wide receiver 8 or 9 for me. I don't think anyone expected Laporta to be the second tight end off the board, ahead of Michael Mayer. I disrespected this man by forgetting to include him in my short video series, so I gotta shout him out here. With a great receiving skill set for a tight end, great draft capital, and a gaping hole at tight end for Detroit, I've got him squarely at tight end 3, and he's an easy second round rookie pick in tight end premium leagues. Quentin Johnston secured first-round draft capital, and he couldn't have landed in a more juicy spot long-term, being tied to Justin Herbert in a high-powered offense. You're going to have to be patient in the short term, as there are a lot of mouths to feed there. I have concerns about his route running, play strength, and ball skills. Those didn't magically go away, and I do still think there's bust potential here. But Keenan Allen is one of the best route runners in the game, and he can learn from a big-bodied, contested catch expert in Mike Williams. It's going to be on QJ to put in the work and develop, but everything is perfectly in place for him to eventually take over as the wide receiver 1 in that offense and be a true fantasy superstar. He's definitely a riser in my eyes. I've been a Jayden Reed truther for a while. He was inside my top 10 before the draft, and I thought that was spicy, but I never expected him to go in the second round with a chance to be a day 1 starter in the NFL. I love his game, and people will call me crazy, but I'll be putting him all the way up at wide receiver 6. I thought that Devon Achane would need to be a second round pick for me to want to buy in at his size. But then he fell to the best possible landing spot. A zone run scheme that matches perfectly with Achane's style and what he ran in college. A coach who repeatedly has produced high-end fantasy running backs. An offense that should use him creatively and give him lots of big running lanes because of Hill and Waddle stretching the field. And not much competition in the running back room. It's a lot to love. Between all that and some guys in front of him falling, he's risen all the way up to my RB3 in the class. I love that Jordan Addison secured first-round draft capital, and I love the landing spot. Sitting opposite Justin Jefferson, he's going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups, and it's not often going to be against the other team's best cornerback. I think he can thrive as a number 2 in this offense, and it's a role he's ideally suited for. Addison jumped from my wide receiver 4 in the class up to my wide receiver 2, and I think there's a very good chance he has the most productive rookie season of all these wide receivers. The tight end with the most fantasy upside just landed in a high-powered offense with an elite quarterback. The Bills really didn't have a lot going for them outside of Allen and Diggs last year, and they've been looking for that second elite weapon. I think they've found it. Josh Allen has his Travis Kelce. Speed, route running, ball skills, yards after the catch, and now a clear path to being top 2 in targets on a good NFL offense. Kincaid is everything you're looking for in a high-end Dynasty tight end. How much can he rise when he was already my tight end 1 before the draft? Well, in tight end premium leagues, I think you have to at least consider taking him as high as 107. I'm all in on Dalton Kincaid. Top 10 draft capital was expected for Anthony Richardson, but as we saw with Will Levis, it's not a given until you see it happen. One of the key things I was looking at with A-Rich was his coaching staff. Richardson landed with Shane Steichen, who helped develop Jalen Hurts as a passer. That's ideal. He also currently has the best offensive weapons surrounding him of all the 3 rookies taken, and it's not particularly close. I still think Young and Stroud are much safer prospects, but I wouldn't fault anyone for taking A-Rich 102 after the draft. We weren't even sure Jahmyr Gibbs was going to go day 1, and he went 12th overall. That's fantastic because running backs selected in the top 15 rarely ever miss from a fantasy perspective. On top of that, he lands in a pretty good offense with virtually no target competition behind Amon-Ra St. Brown for at least the first 6 games. Goff is a notorious checkdown king. Gurley caught 166 passes in 3 seasons with Goff. Monty is a good complement to Gibbs, who was never going to be a 20 carry type of running back anyway. This is an Ingram-Kamara situation with a much worse Mark Ingram. You don't take a guy 12th without a plan to use him early and often. He's likely seeing double-digit carries and 7 to 9 targets a game. Gibbs will be a PPR stud, and he's my locked-in 102 and 1 quarterback rookie drafts. So those are my top 10 post-draft risers in Dynasty Fantasy Football. For my full pre-draft thoughts on every prospect, check out this playlist right here, and I'll see you there.